so now you work at, with a Christian organization. So how long after you were saved and started doing all this that now you work for like a full-on ministry?
This is the craziest story ever. Talking about pockets of testimony, this is one of them. So I had I had a professional dance gig. I did that life. I was teaching dance, and it got to the point where I was literally working like 6 jobs, like on top of teaching.
Mm,
And so it got to a point of, and we didn't have health insurance, and so I was like, okay, I need to find a job with health insurance, and pays decently and whatnot. And so it was like the hardest. It was one of the hardest seasons, just trying to make that career switch from being in leggings and like a leotard all day to then trying to get like some sort of like business. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like kind of sending off my resume to whoever would like look at it.
yeah.
So I started working temporarily at Carnegie Mellon University, just doing different sort of admin stuff. And I was sitting next to this a woman at my like new staff orientation, and we started talking and chatting and stuff. And she was like, "Oh, I'm a Christian," and I was so pumped because that's like finding a unicorn, and
Yeah.
especially in at Carnegie Mellon, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! Look at the Lord! Like we're sitting right next to each other. This is great." So she started inviting me to they'd have like lunch Bible studies once a month. So I started going with her, and she emailed me the one day and was like, "You have to meet Johnny." And I was like, "I don't know who Johnny is, but great, let's meet with Johnny." So we had emailed him in August, and she said like, "We want to grab lunch with you." This dude didn't answer us back until like January.
Okay.
And at this time, working temporarily, I was like interviewing and sending my resumes everywhere. I was to the point of like, you know what? I'm just going to write out this temp position until maybe they offer the job to me. Um,
Yeah.
and Johnny finally answers us in January. And I was like, who is this guy that's answering us back months later? So I Google him and I see that he works for the CCO. And I'm looking at it and everything and going through what I did in college and seeing that they were helping college students know the Lord. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be a part of this. Like, even if I was just going to be a volunteer, I didn't care. I was like, I need to be a part of this. I don't know how. And
Just
again,
so
at this
people know,
point,
the listeners don't know what the CCO is.
oh, the CCO is Coalition for, thank you, Coalition for Christian Outreach. You do campus ministry. So we're on different campuses across the country, and we'll partner with the local church. So there's different Bible studies you can join and everything, but really the heart is that we're transforming, not us, but the Lord is transforming college students to transform the
Wow.
world. Because that's a
That's
pivotal
so
time in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we can relate to the fact that that's when we like super fell off into the alcohol, both of us. So yeah, absolutely. That's so amazing.
So Johnny, I was just like, what is he doing? Who is this guy? I go on their website and I'm looking on their jobs and I see there's an executive assistant job open. Um, I don't really have that background, but I had all this temp work and a couple admin things. So I was like, you know what? I'll think about it. It was a Friday that I saw it, and at this point, I was burnt out from sending job applications. So it wasn't until that Monday that I sat down at my desk, and the Lord was like, "You're gonna apply for that job. Go." And I was like, "Okay." So I spent the whole day. I didn't have much to do, so I literally just spent the whole day. There's different questions you have to ask because it is a Christian ministry. So they want to make sure that it's an actual Christian that's applying. So there's
Yeah.
lots of different questions and everything. And it was like a week or so later that I got a call. And we went through the whole interview process, and I went to Jubilee, and it was fantastic. The day I started the job was the day that the world like shut down. It was March 16th, and it's when COVID was at its whenever it was starting. So I literally started my job on the day that they closed the office. But had I not gotten the if I had not done all of that had not happened, I would have still been in my temp job and I would have been out of a job.
Wow. Isn't it crazy how God will do something at the last moment too, so that you know it was him?
Yes. And it was weird too because I brought it up to my boss in the interview. I was like, because I mean, it literally said like all of my stuff was like dance, and it said like temp work, and he's like, because I was telling him, I was like, I really feel like the Lord wants me to be here. Like, it just like this is the weirdest story. Like, this is only God. And he's like, that's really funny that you say that because we have no idea how your resume even got through because it has to go through like a system. And
Oh
he
my
was like,
goodness.
we're not really sure how yours got through. He said, actually, the first time I looked at your resume, it was between me, like, I was the last two people. Until he looked at the one woman's and it like made sense because it was like all business stuff. Then he looked at mine and he actually said like out loud, like, we're interviewing this girl. Like, what is she doing?
Oh
Like,
my goodness.
it was literally just God. It's
Wow.
the weirdest thing.
Oh my goodness, that's so good. I know so many people who need to hear that message right now, like, just like facing impossible situations, but with God, nothing is impossible. That's
Yeah, it was literally insane. I journaled it all too, so I wouldn't forget that feeling. I was like, this is literally only the Lord. There's no other way.